If you're thinking about moving to Austin, Texas, you gotta get a lay of the land first. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to jump into my map here. First, I wanna tell you what the main roads are in and around Austin so you know how to get around. If you're working here, you're really gonna wanna make sure you know exactly where the main roads are for commute times, right? The second thing we're gonna talk about is the best areas to live. So this is based on some of my personal preferences. Some of this is based on niche.com, and some of this is based on just my clients' experiences and kind of what they've been through. The third thing we're gonna talk about as I go through some of these areas, I'm gonna talk about some of the pros, I'm gonna talk about some of the cons because none of these areas are perfect, but my sneaking suspicion is that if you already want to move to Austin, we can find an area that's perfect for you. And then the fourth thing that we're gonna talk about again as we go through the different areas is we're gonna talk about the pricing as much as I can of each area, but we got a lot to cover, so I'm gonna jump into the map right now. I got your back. The first thing we're looking at here is a map kind of zoomed out of the city of Austin, okay? So if you're relatively familiar with this area, let me actually zoom out so that you see where we are in the context of Texas. So they call Austin Central Texas, kind of because we're smack right in the middle of the state, okay? Now, let me zoom in here again a little bit. Okay, so right here, this little blue dot, this is where I am. I'm pretty close to downtown Austin. And you can see way up here, the kind of the northernmost suburb of Austin is a town called Georgetown, okay? And let me see here. If you were to take I-35 straight up north past Georgetown and you just never stop, you're gonna get to Dallas, okay? And then right over here, where are we? Kind of the easternmost suburb of Austin is a town called Bastrop. And if you were to take 71 or 290 all the way east, way past Bastrop, past Giddings, past Brenham, you're gonna get to Houston. So Houston is way far east of Austin. And then down here, San Marcos is probably what's gonna be the southernmost suburb of Austin. And if you were to keep going down past San Marcos, you would get to San Antonio. And then if you take 290 west out of Austin, you're gonna get into the hill country. Like honestly, it's just a bunch of beautiful hill country. Nothing much more to say about that. You're gonna get to Johnson City, Blanco, Fredericksburg, Kerrville, Lakey, and just a ton of beautiful hill country. All right, so that's just giving you a little bit of the lay of the land about where Austin is in general. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to stop drawing and I'm gonna take you kind of into more central Austin. So everything you're seeing on my map right now, this is, I shouldn't say everything, most of what you're seeing is what's kind of considered Austin proper. All right, now there's gonna be a couple roads that you are absolutely gonna need to know what they are, where they are, how to get to them, sometimes how to navigate away from them. The first road that you need to know about is called Interstate 35, all right? I'm gonna draw it right here in blue, otherwise known as I-35. Now, I-35 is kind of notorious in Texas for having really terrible traffic, and the infrastructure, like my wife and I, we always say that the infrastructure in Austin is about 15 years behind where it should be. And a classic case of that is the road I-35. So if you're moving here to town, you're gonna need to know to avoid I-35 at all costs. I don't care if it's morning, noon, night, I-35 is probably gonna be terrible, but you should also know that it's a north-south thoroughfare right through the middle of Austin that kind of goes all the way up. It goes past Dallas, really, and it goes all the way down into San Antonio and beyond. The second road that you're gonna need to know about is kind of parallel to I-35, and it's called Loop 1. It's also called Mopac. Most people here just call it Mopac, okay? And that is another north-south thoroughfare. You know, I did study math in college, but like, does this look like a loop to you? No. But is it called Loop 1? Yes. You know why? I actually have no idea. If you know why Mopac is also called Loop 1 and you're Austin local, drop a comment down below because I would love to know. But anyway, most people in and around Austin, when they're trying to travel north-south through town, they're either gonna use I-35, but you're really gonna wanna use Mopac, okay? And again, Mopac goes all the way up, you know, close to Round Rock, and it goes all the way down into deep South Austin. And so I know a lot of people like who are moving to town, they wanna get as close as possible to Mopac. One thing that's really cool that we do, like if you're actually thinking about moving here, we wanna ask you a couple, 2 or 3 questions about what you like, what you don't like, what's important to you, where you're gonna be working. And then we can probably point out the perfect neighborhood for you to look in that's gonna be as close as possible to the main roads that you're actually gonna wanna use. So if that's you, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. My info's down in the video description, and we'd love to hook you up with a Zoom call, free, 30 minutes, and we can definitely point you in the right direction. So anyway, let's move on here. Now, what is a good road to hit next? Okay, another road that's gonna be really frustrating to you if you don't understand what it looks like and how to navigate it and what to call it is this road right here, which you can see coming straight out of East Austin, is called 71. And then right around here at I-35, it turns into what's called Ben White Boulevard, okay? And then right here, right as you cross Mopac, it turns into 290. And then right here, you can see that little neighborhood, it's called Oak Hill. This is what we call the Y in Austin. When I used to hear about people going to the Y or meet me at the Y or take a ride at the Y, I always thought they meant take a ride at the YMCA. And there actually is a YMCA right down here in Oak Hill, so it can get really confusing. But when someone says to take a ride at the Y, that's not what they're talking about. What they're talking about is at Oak Hill, it splits off and this road right here becomes 71, okay? It takes you all the way out to Bee Cave, out by Lakeway, up into Spicewood, way northwest of Austin. And then right here, it juts off and continues and becomes 290. And that'll take you straight into Dripping Springs, into Henley, over to Johnson City and beyond, okay? So that's another road that you're really gonna need to know about. A very common east-west thoroughfare in Austin, and we're gonna talk more about that in a little bit. Then another road you need to know about, which this is gonna get confusing because it's called 290. This road 290 comes straight out of Houston and goes all the way to Austin. You're gonna pass Elgin, and you come right into town, and then right around here where 290 hits I-35, it stops being 290 and 290 picks back up down here at Mopac. So again, super confusing, but it doesn't just end. 290 becomes a road called 2222 or Koenig, and it goes right through the middle of kind of north central Austin. Then it becomes 2222 proper as you pass Mopac, and it'll take you straight into West Austin where you're gonna get some of the absolute most scenic views you will ever see in Central Texas. Again, more on that later. Another road that you really need to know about here in town is called 183, okay? And 183 kind of goes like northeast, it goes northwest through Austin and it comes down through northeast Austin. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So let's start, it goes up here. Leander is a suburb, which we're gonna talk about. And 183 goes straight through Cedar Park, and it comes down kind of again through north central Austin. For a little while, it's parallel to 2222. And then it crosses 290 and it goes straight south down through East Austin. And then you kind of exit Austin to the northeast. And if you take it all the way down, it'll take you to Lockhart, Luling, and some of the best barbecue you've ever tasted, okay? Now, a couple roads I wanna show you that if you know about them, they're kind of like Austin hacks, and they will help you kind of traverse or like, what's the word, circumnavigate? It'll help you avoid some of the really nasty traffic, okay? So the first one is this road called 360. It's actually called Loop 360, yet another road in Austin that is not a loop. It's named a loop, but it's not a loop. And 360 goes right around West Austin, and it helps you get around Mopac if you absolutely need to. It's usually not too bad with traffic. Again, some of the most scenic views of Austin goes right through Westlake Hills, and yeah, really pretty stuff. Another road you gotta know about that goes north-south through town is called 130, all right? And it is a toll road, so that's something that you're gonna need to know. But a lot of people who live up in some of the northeast Austin suburbs and some of the southern suburbs really love to use 130 because I think the speed limit is like 80 or 85 miles an hour. And it'll really help you get around some of the really bad traffic. It really kind of helps you get around central Austin, all right? Another road that a lot of people use a lot is 45. 45, it's also a toll road, I believe. And it helps you get kind of east-west. It's north of town, but it helps you go east-west. And it helps you just avoid some of the bad traffic of 183 or roads like that if you have to. Now, another geographic feature that you're gonna need to know about that also has a few different names is called the Colorado River. So up here, we've got Lake Travis, beautiful lake. It's not a constant level lake, so I think right now it's pretty low, but some years it's beautiful and it's really, really full. A huge attraction that a lot of people in Austin, Central Texas like to go boating, wave surfing, boat skiing, things like that, pontooning. But the Colorado River comes right out of Lake Travis, okay? So right where you see me tracing, this is actually called the Colorado River. And then I think right around the time you cross 360, right here coming into town, it's actually called Lake Austin, okay? Actually, the first job I ever got in Austin was at a sweet coffee shop called Mozart's, right around here. And it's right, like literally directly on Lake Austin. It's absolutely beautiful. If you're coming into town, and you want some solidly mediocre coffee, but really good views, you definitely have to check out Mozart's. And then right after you cross Mopac, between Mopac and I-35 here, that Lake Austin becomes what's called Town Lake. They've recently tried to rebrand it to be Lady Bird Lake, to name it after Lady Bird Johnson, but honestly, all of the Austin locals call it Town Lake. You'll probably see signs for Lady Bird Lake, but no one calls it Lady Bird Lake. So right there, you got the Colorado River, also called Lake Austin, also called Town Lake, also called Lady Bird Lake. I promise we are not trying to confuse you. But anyway, as the Colorado River, you can't see it on the map here, but as it leaves Austin, it goes right into Bastrop. Right there, that is almost everything you need to know. One thing I just noticed I missed, this road 45 recently connected all the way down here through deep South Austin, and it connects to Mopac. So a lot of people use this kind of circuit to get around, where used to you'd have to go all the way up to 290 or Ben White, and it was really annoying, okay? Now, one more thing you need to know about general Austin geography and main roads before we jump into some of the best places to live. Now, you're really gonna wanna pay attention to all of these best places to live, because I'm gonna basically tell you about every suburb in the Austin area. What's really important is that you know where to live, but where not to live, okay? So I really think by the end of this video, if you're moving to Austin, you're gonna see some things where you're gonna make sure to steer away from those areas, and you're gonna wanna focus more on certain areas. So don't go to the end, don't skip this part. This is really important. And if you really wanna fit in Austin, here's what you gotta know. So this red squiggly line right here is the Colorado River, right? And anything north of this, locals call North Austin, and anything south of this is called South Austin. So my great-grandparents are from here, my grandparents are from here, my dad is from here. And what's funny is I always joke that, like, if my dad grew up right around here and kind of near South Austin. Like, if we were in like Tokyo, Japan, and someone asked my dad, hey, Barrett's dad, where are you from? I guarantee you he would say, I'm from South Austin. That's because people who grow up here, they really see themselves as South Austinites, and people who grow up here see themselves as North Austinites. I'm gonna do a whole video on that someday about the differences between North and South Austin, but just so you know, culturally, up here in North Austin, it's a little more like business, techie, a little bit more tucked in for Austin standard, by Austin standards that is. And then down here, it's a lot more like keep Austin weird, kind of hippie, artsy, musician, a little bit more blue collar, like you still kind of feel some of those vibes. So hope that makes sense. All right, so now you know all about the main roads and the main geography of the city of Austin and surrounding areas. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit, and I wanna show you like the best places to live. So if you're thinking about moving to Austin, again, if you just tell us a couple, 2 or 3 things that you like and that you don't like, I can almost guarantee you we're gonna be able to tell you which of these areas you're gonna wanna live, and more than likely we can actually tell you what neighborhood you should live in. So if that sounds attractive to you, again, my info is in this video description. Do not be shy. We hear from people just like you all the time, and we absolutely freaking love it. All right, so let's draw on this bad boy, shall we? Okay, so a couple areas, and I'm gonna go with pink here. So I would say probably the farthest northern suburb that you're gonna wanna know about is called Liberty Hill. And look, Liberty Hill is pretty quiet. I would say Liberty Hill is gonna be perfect for you if you love a family environment, you love top-rated schools, and you don't really want to be close to Austin, all right? So again, I know sometimes on a map, on paper, it can look like this area that I just circled is like super close to downtown Austin. I can promise you it's not. If you live in Liberty Hill and you have to commute in and out of Austin every day, you're gonna wanna plan on at least 45 to 60 minutes one way, okay? So I would say Liberty Hill is perfect for you if you're already working north of town. And again, you want a great family environment with really great schools. And on that note, I would say a con of Liberty Hill is that there really isn't a whole lot of retail and shopping there. Like there's really not a lot going on apart from school activities and like grocery shopping and newer sprawling neighborhoods. All right, so if you really want to be close to the action, close to Austin, like you're gonna have to come down into town. And like I said earlier, it's gonna be a bit of a trek. And in terms of pricing, I would say if you're looking to spend around $400,000 to $600,000 and what I just told you about Liberty Hill sounds attractive to you, it really could be a great area for you. The next area I want to tell you about is called Georgetown. And over the last several years, Georgetown has really blown up. And I absolutely love Georgetown. Like they have this super cute, kind of quintessential old historic Texas downtown. In fact, it was about 10 years ago, I had a listing in Georgetown on the San Gabriel River, and I wanted my family to come and help me like stomp the sign in the yard. And we went to Georgetown and we were shocked. Okay, they had this really cute little Christmas bazaar, Christmas festival downtown. They had live music, they had craft boutiques, like craft breweries, local breweries, coffee shops open. And we were just like, oh my God, for like a minute, my wife and I actually like seeing our kids run around the parks. Like it's so beautiful. Like I live in pretty central, kind of gritty Austin, and seeing our kids just out there playing and breathing a little bit easier in Georgetown, like there was something really, really enticing about it, right? Actually, a couple years ago, my wife and I actually went out and biked. We went on a bike ride around Lake Georgetown, and we actually got lost, okay? We're sitting there on our road bikes and our road shoes. We ended up having to like what felt like the wilderness. We were trekking through it. Our feet were hurting. It was terrible. It was our fault. It was not Georgetown's fault. But when we finally found our way, we biked back to our car, and then we ended up driving over to El Monumento, which is actually one of my favorite kind of Mexican, fine dining Mexican restaurants in all of town. And they have my favorite margarita. It's got that tahini on the rim. And we just sat there all exhausted and sunburned and just like mentally fried. And I just remember sitting there overlooking the San Gabriel River with our margaritas and chips and salsa. And it was just like, this is perfect. Like, I feel like I'm in heaven. But anyway, Georgetown is great. I would say One of the only kind of cons of Georgetown, just like Liberty Hill, is that if you're wanting to be in Austin, it's a bit of a trek. I would plan on at least 30 to 40 minutes one way every day for your commute, maybe even more. But if that's not a big deal to you, or you work remote, or you already work in North Austin, Georgetown can also be a really great family-friendly area with quite a bit more going on than Liberty Hill. So if that sounds good to you, I think it could be super attractive. All right, the next suburb we're gonna hit is Leander. Okay, so Leander is like famous. I know it was on the list of like the #1 growing city for like multiple years in a row until like 2022. I think like the fastest growing city in the United States, okay? And people love to go there for the amazing schools. So I can talk about schools. People always get freaked out about steering. Like, what is steering about telling you that Leander has great rated schools? Okay, so Leander ISD is one of the top rated school districts. I think it's one of the top 4 or 5 in all of Central Texas. And I mean, you're probably gonna pay somewhere between $350,000, $450,000 for a nice, big, single family home. So I think that's a huge pro. Like, families absolutely love it there. You're gonna see kind of some common themes here. And look, because Leander has experienced so much explosive growth in the last, 10, 15 years, almost all of the housing options available to you are gonna be brand new construction, because builders have needed to build a lot of new construction for all those new people, right? So that's almost exclusively what you're gonna get in Leander. And I would say a con of that is like, you're probably gonna be having a lot of construction around you, a lot of construction noise. The city of Leander, like their infrastructure is just like expanding rapidly. So you're probably gonna have a little bit of like a hectic construction vibe around you for quite some time. But if you go directly south into Cedar Park, this is another area that like, I think it's super interesting. We were actually out there filming recently all day, and like there are parks everywhere. There's a reason it's called Cedar Park, because there are parks everywhere, okay? Nature trails, mountain biking trails, all sorts of trails, running trails. And Cedar Park's interesting to me. It's kind of weird. And I would say this is probably a con of Cedar Park. There's no like central Cedar Park. Like, I don't know of any location in Cedar Park where you're like, this is quintessential Cedar Park, except maybe the parks. Because Cedar Park originally started as kind of just like a neighborhood in North Austin where people would go for a little bit more affordability, a little bit more conservative vibes. And so that's a lot of what you're gonna see in Cedar Park, okay? And that's another thing I wanted to mention. In a lot of these areas, Austin is known for being this kind of like liberal paradise, but you just go barely outside of town and all of these areas, you're gonna see a lot more conservative vibes. And for some of you watching, that might be a negative, and for some of you watching, that might be a positive. I'm just telling you what it is. So, pro of Cedar Park, you're really close to Austin. You just hop on 183 and it's a quick shoot right into town. I would say a con is it doesn't really have its own town identity. And because it's so close into Austin, you're really it's not quite as affordable as some of these other suburbs. So you're probably gonna wanna plan on spending about $450,000 to $650,000 for living in Cedar Park. Now, we're gonna go straight east of Cedar Park. And this is probably Austin's most famous northern suburb. It's called Round Rock, okay? I love Round Rock, all right? Straight up, I just got to admit to everyone, I love Round Rock. We also filmed there recently, and we went to a coffee shop called Lamppost Coffee, I think is what it's called. It's right in the middle of town, and it was just like so cool. Like, I've been looking for excuses to go to Lamppost Coffee ever since we went there a while back. Again, Round Rock is also one of the top 4 or 5 school districts in all of Central Texas, and for the prices you can get in Round Rock, it is a massive bang for your buck. And so a lot of people, just so you know, live in Round Rock who work in the tech industry. Like, it's just a thing. Like, right up here in the North Austin area, remember earlier I told you it's kind of more white collar, techie, businessy. Well, I have found that a lot of our clients who are working for companies like Indeed, Apple, Facebook, IBM, Dell, places like that, they love to go to Round Rock because again, the schools are awesome. There's a ton to do there. There's a lot of stuff to do in nature. And it's just in general, really great for families. Quick plug. So Dell Computers, is it called Dell Computers? Dell Inc. Dell Technologies, I think now is what it's called, is in Round Rock. So like if you live in Round Rock or you go to Round Rock and you talk to people, probably like every third or fourth person you talk to is gonna be married to someone who works at Dell or they themselves work at Dell. I will say a huge con of Round Rock is you almost have to get on to I-35 to go in and out of Austin, and it can just be absolutely horrendous. I will even tell you, like in Round Rock, like where you live in Round Rock can make like 20 minutes one way of a difference in your commute. So again, if you're like, man, Round Rock sounds awesome, but gosh dang it, like I really want to make sure my commute is as minimal as possible, but I want my schools to be as great as possible, you have to talk to someone on my team. So again, hit that info in my video description and we'd love to talk to you about what you're looking for in a home. All right. Now, I'm going to stray just east and we're going to talk about Hutto. So Hutto and Taylor are two northern suburbs of Austin that have also really exploded a lot. They've gotten way bigger in the last several years. And I don't know too much about Hutto. Honestly, to me, I've sold houses in Hutto, but to me, Hutto is like a pass through from going to Round Rock to Taylor. Y'all people who live in Hutto out there, I'm so sorry. If there are reasons you love Hutto and there's something I need to know about it, I'm always trying to learn. I don't know about every single area, but I know about almost all of them. So drop a comment below and tell me what you love about Hutto. But I would say, if you're looking in Round Rock, you're gonna wanna plan on spending about $350,000 to $450,000 minimum for a single family home. Hutto, you can get by with spending $325,000 to $400,000. And I think for Taylor, I haven't done a whole lot in Taylor. I've actually never been there. I've had team members who sold houses in Taylor, but I never have personally, or I've never actually been there. But I know you can get a home in Taylor for probably around $300,000 to $350,000 right now. And I know that they also have a super nice, cute, quintessential, idyllic Texas downtown, okay? So definitely hit up Taylor when you're in town. It's funny, some of these areas I'm like, what the heck are these? I've lived here for 19 years, been coming here for 40 years. Like Selly, New Sweden, Adena, Blue, Fedor. I've never heard of any of these towns. This is so crazy. Okay, the next town that we have to hit up is Pflugerville, okay? So Pflugerville is also awesome. And Pflugerville downtown, like if I would have been doing this video 2 years ago, I would have told you Pflugerville is great, but they don't really have a whole lot going on there. There's really no downtown to speak of. And like you have to go down into Austin if you want something to do. But that has definitely changed over the last couple of years. We were also there filming a video recently and we went to this really cool coffee shop. We're in this nice little town square where they had like a lot of, couple bars, a couple microbreweries. Like Pflugerville, you better watch out. Like you got it going on. I'm about to start liking you even more. I would say a pro of Pflugerville is that it is probably the closest suburb to downtown Austin. So if you're commuting in and out of downtown, you are probably gonna have to jump on I-35 or hit 130 and shoot over on 290. So your commute can be minimal, but it still kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. I would say plan on spending about $450,000 to $550,000 for a great single family home in Pflugerville. But I would say a con of Pflugerville is that some of the schools are good, some of the schools are kind of mid, and then some of the schools are just like straight up bad. So you really gotta be careful when you're moving to Pflugerville. You wanna work with someone who knows exactly where to live for your kids to go to the best schools. Okay, so let me take a look here. I think that is all the North Austin suburbs I wanted to mention. All right, so I'm gonna make those in pink. I am going to circle in green some of the more west and southern suburbs of Austin, okay? One of the towns that I absolutely have to mention, and again, I'm not telling you every single area, I'm telling you the best areas to live. One area we have to talk about is Lakeway, okay? Lakeway is freaking awesome. So Lakeway actually reminds me a little bit of like a Franklin, Tennessee, maybe even a little bit of a Boulder, Colorado on the lake in Texas, but you've got really great views out there. And so a lot of people go out there who want, like, again, a more conservative vibe than the city of Austin. They want a little more land, they want a little more space to breathe, and they want really great schools for their kids. Now, I've said this before, but actually this was like in my first couple months of being a licensed realtor in 2014. I had a family who was like, all right, Barrett, we want to go out to Lakeway. And literally, I thought Lakeway was a retirement community. In fact, I actually thought Lakeway was like a retirement resort called Lakeway. And I was like, isn't that for like retired people? Like, oh, tiny little kids. And they were like, what? No, honestly, I'm just being honest here. So I drove out there into West Austin, into Lakeway, and I was just like blown away with the views. I felt like I was driving into like the Los Angeles Valley. Is that a thing? I don't know about California. Now, you're gonna love Lakeway if you want a family-friendly environment and you wanna be really close to the lake. So a lot of people in Lakeway know that like there are tons of access points to the lake. And I don't know, but you gotta understand, it's not your typical laid back lake town where people are walking around in flip-flops with their shirts off. It's not like the Florida Keys over here. It's a weird, like, in a good way, it's a weird, like, professional lake town. So you'll see people in like nice golf shirts tucked in who just came back from the lake or something like that. And I would say a con of Lakeway is that there's really only one way in and out on Lakeway, and it's on 620. And it's infuriating. Oftentimes 620 is like 1 or 2 lane roadway. And like, if there is a stalled out car, you could be stuck behind it for like 30, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. So that can be absolutely infuriating. But for people who like who work in West Austin, who want to live close to their work, or maybe you work remotely, Lakeway could be a truly amazing option for you. And you're gonna want to plan on spending about $700,000 to $1 million for living out in Lakeway. Let's take it a little bit south here, and we're gonna talk about another very popular Austin suburb called Dripping Springs. So one of my cousins lived out in Dripping Springs for a really long, or one set of my cousins lived out in Dripping Springs for a really long time. So whenever we would come to Austin to visit my grandparents, we would always go out there and visit them. And there was like nothing. It was just like a couple little old neighborhoods and a high school. And there was almost nothing out there. But now Dripping Springs has absolutely exploded in popularity over the last 20 years. And I would say Dripping Springs is gonna be perfect for you. If you like, again, a family-friendly environment, you want much bigger lots, and you kind of want more of a rural feel than the city of Austin, that's for sure. I would say a con of Dripping Springs is if you have to get in and out of Austin, there's almost no two ways about it. You have to use 290. Now, they're doing a ton of work on 290 going east and west right now, in and out of Dripping Springs, but still right now, it can be pretty darn horrendous. And if you look right here, this is that little area called the Y that I told you about, where it splits off 71 to 290. Holy freaking crap. Some of the most frustrating experiences of my life have been trying to get out to Dripping Springs or come back in from Dripping Springs around rush hour. Like you're going literally 0 miles an hour for most of your time spent in the car. And to live out in Dripping Springs for a single family home, you're gonna wanna plan on spending about $500,000 to $800,000. Quick plug, 2 plugs, Driftwood and Wimberley. So Wimberley is probably my favorite Austin area river town. It's got its own thing going on. They don't like to think of themselves as an Austin suburb, but to me they kind of are. Quintessential old downtown, lots of great Airbnbs, lots of great houses right on the Blanco River. I take my family out there for 1 week every summer, and we absolutely love it. Tons of stuff for kids to do. The schools are kind of so-so. I don't know a lot of people moving out to Wimberley like to live, but I do know a lot of people who own second homes out there, or they go out there for vacation. Similar, well, not similar, but Driftwood is also a southwestern suburb of Austin that a lot of people go to who just want to be quiet. There's no, like, that I know of, no downtown Driftwood, but a lot of people go out there to have land. They go out there to be quiet. And so I would say depending on a lot of different factors, like are you on the river, are you away from the river, things like that. If you're wanting to move out to Driftwood or Wimberley, you're probably gonna wanna plan on spending about $800,000 to $1 million. All right, now we're gonna move into South Austin proper, and I'm actually gonna use a different color for this. Let's go with blue. I'm gonna tell you about one of my favorite Austin suburbs right now, and it is called Buda. Do not be fooled. If you don't live here, it is not called Buda. You pronounce it Buda. So I don't want you to embarrass yourselves out there. It's Buda, not Buddha. Okay, so Buda is kind of your first suburb heading south out of Austin on I-35. And I would say Buda, like all of these, has really exploded in the last several years. They have a great quintessential cute downtown. I absolutely love it. I love going there. There's like some cool little pizza shops, a great soda shop, coffee shops galore. Again, we absolutely freaking love it. Okay. And I would say if you're going to move to Buda, you're probably going to want to plan on spending about $350,000 to $400,000. And I would say one of the cons of Buda, apart from the kind of so-so schools, some of them are really good, some of them are not. And that's the thing about schools in a rapidly expanding and growing area is one year they suck, and then the next year, like all these new kids come in, new parents, influx of tax dollars, and the schools get a lot better, right? But I would say one negative about Buda is like half of Buda is on the west side of I-35, half is on the east side. And so going like east-west through Buda is totally fine. But if you want to go up into town into Austin or down into San Antonio, good luck, it's gonna suck. But I would say Buda and its southern neighbor, Kyle, still have like, I told you South Austin is kind of known as having like this kind of blue collar feel. I would say Buda and Kyle definitely have more of that blue collar feel than like a Cedar Park or Round Rock or Georgetown. And I love that. Like it's kind of a lot more of those kind of good old boys with their big trucks. Like they know what to do with cows on a farm. Like I would have no idea what to do. But people in Buda and Kyle, it's just kind of like good, salt of the earth people who absolutely love living in Buda and Kyle. So Kyle, very similarly, I would say you're probably gonna wanna also plan on spending maybe $350,000 to $450,000. It can even be a little bit more expensive in Kyle sometimes, but I think that's because Kyle's a little bit more attractive. They're gonna be newer homes because again, the area has exploded so much over the last several years. And people who live in Kyle are obsessed with Kyle. Fun fact, the city council of Kyle, every year on May the 4th, they dress up like Star Wars characters. Aaron, could you throw a picture of that in there somewhere? So Kyle's got a super strong family feel, good community feel, but a lot of growth, a lot of expansion, a lot of construction. One more suburb you need to know about. I would still consider this south. Well, you know what? Let me just touch on San Marcos. I don't do a whole lot in San Marcos, but Texas State University is in San Marcos. I really like San Marcos and New Braunfels because you can go float the river on an inner tube. I don't think I would point to that area as a place to move to, but I definitely think it's a fun place to visit while you're in town. So just wanted to touch on that. Another South Austin suburb you need to know about is called Del Valley. Okay, so Del Valley is going to be perfect for you if like your number one priority is affordability. So for about $300,000 to $400,000, you can get a pretty nice newer construction house. Now, Del Valley, again, y'all, like I said in the intro to this video, it might look like it's super close to downtown Austin, but something about it, like it's not. And maybe that's just because you have to go all the way down Ben White, all the way to 35. But if you're thinking that you're gonna have a super easy commute into town, you're probably gonna be pretty pissed off because it's not great. And there's also kind of no Del Valley central like town identity. It honestly just feels like an affordable, huge neighborhood east of Austin. Now, a huge pro about Del Valley is that it's right next to the Austin airport. So if being close to the airport is something that's important to you, then you're probably gonna love Del Valley. And you also actually are really convenient to 130. If for whatever reason you need to get around Austin to the north or the south, I don't know, like it could be a decent option for you. All right, people, now we're going east. And for east, I am gonna use orange. All right, so a couple areas that you need to know about in East Austin. I would say probably the most popular one is gonna be Bastrop. I know I hit on Bastrop just a little bit earlier, but it's out east off of 71. It's on the Colorado River, and people who love Bastrop are people who like honestly kind of want to be away from Austin. One of my good friends lives in Bastrop and he commutes into Austin regularly, and like honestly, I don't really think it's that bad. 71 is not terribly busy, so if you have to commute in and out of town, like it's really not going to be that bad. And you're probably going to want to plan on spending like $400,000 to $500,000 minimum to be in Bastrop. If you want a good amount of land, you might want to plan on spending $600,000 to $800,000. But they've got beautiful pine trees. It's just, Bastrop is a really beautiful spot and I absolutely love it. Again, super cute downtown. You would probably love it. And obviously a con of Bastrop is that it is a little bit far from Austin, but a big pro is that it's got a lot of historic charm. Again, a lot of people who live in Bastrop like absolutely love living in Bastrop. One more suburb I want to mention in East Austin is Elgin. So it's not pronounced Elgin. Again, I don't want you to embarrass yourselves here. It's Elgin, hard G. People who live in Elgin are looking for affordability. There's really no two ways about it. You're looking for affordability. Now, over the last several years, I'd say a huge pro of Elgin is they've got a lot more kind of retail, grocery shopping amenities and things like that. It's still a very slow paced town. They've got some good grocery shopping. And for most people who live there, they honestly don't find themselves having to come into town, into Austin very much for anything. Again, if you're looking to be away from Austin, but you really it's almost like for people who want to live in Bastrop, but they want it to be more affordable. Those types of people really seem to love Elgin. Another area that I want to hit that I think for whatever reason, the way this map is oriented, it's not here. It's right here and it's called Manor. Now, again, Manor is just east of Austin off of 290. Honestly, I hear people in Manor complaining a lot about the traffic, and I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and believe them here. Personally, I don't think Manor, the traffic in and out of Manor is that bad. I've done it a lot because I show houses out there all the time. And like, I don't think Manor is, I don't think the commute is bad at all. And I think you could probably buy a house in Manor for like anywhere from $350,000 to $500,000 for like a good, nice single family home. Now, a con of Manor is that the property taxes out there are pretty darn high. So before you consider Manor, talk to us because we want to make sure that financially you understand exactly what that's going to look like for you. Okay, so I would say definitively, these are the areas of Austin. These are the suburbs of Austin that I definitely think are the best areas to live. Now, what I'm going to do, what you've all been waiting for, and I want to dig a little bit more very briefly into the actual city of Austin. I want to zoom in just a little bit and I want to show you some areas that like are the most popular neighborhoods in the actual city of Austin. One thing you need to see is that there's the Colorado River here going right through the middle of town. Anything north of it is North Austin. Anything south of it is South Austin. Couple neighborhoods are, the first one is called Zilker, okay? So Zilker is an area that a lot of people love because it's like quintessential South Austin. You are right in the mix. You are right in the middle of everything. You're right by Barton Springs Pool. You're right by Zilker Park. And Zilker Park is where the Austin City Limits Music Festival, ACL, takes place every year. So like a lot of people love living there because they can just walk to ACL. So if you're gonna wanna live in Zilker, you're probably gonna wanna plan on spending about $900,000 to $1.5 million. And Zilker is gonna be perfect for people who wanna be, again, right in the mix, but you also love the outdoors because right hugging Zilker, you've got the Colorado River, also known as Town Lake, but hugging it is the Barton Creek Greenbelt. And the Barton Creek Greenbelt is a mecca for people in Central Texas to come and hike, mountain bike, just chill in the creek, things like that. So if that describes you, you're gonna absolutely love Zilker. Then we've got downtown Austin. So right here, kind of hugging the Capitol, this is gonna be downtown. And of course, downtown is gonna be for those people who want like more, they're gonna be urban professionals who like really prioritize walkability. They do not prioritize yards because in these high-rise condos, I'm sorry guys, you're not gonna get a yard, okay? And I mean, y'all, like you can find a great condo downtown for 800,000. You can also find decent condos downtown for 2 million. You could find a condo downtown for 10 million. So it's kind of all over the map. If you are seriously considering downtown, we have to have a conversation so that we can point you to the right building. So again, call, text, email, hit us up, we will hook you up. Hit us up, we hook you up. Another area that you have to know about if you're considering the Austin area, and you can spend a decent amount of money and you prioritize safety, security, you love big houses with big yards, it's gonna be Tarrytown. Let's take a look at a little street view action over here. Let me get rid of some of my drawings. These are a couple streets, Hillview and Greenlee. And actually, when I was a teacher way back in the day, I used to teach at a school for dyslexic kids right around this area. And I saw this house being built. I took pictures of it every single day. I wish I could show you. But it was really cool. Like, this is a great example of new construction that you can find in Tarrytown, like really great landscaping, big yard, great area. Another house I saw recently that I thought was really cool, and I've just been waiting for a for sale sign to go in front of it so that I can sell it to one of y'all awesome people, is this house right here. I just think this is so neat. It's kind of this old, restored, like awesome, weird mega turret, like Spanish, Tuscan, Italian style villa that I think is the bee's knees. And so anyway, that's a lot of what you're gonna get in Tarrytown. You're gonna find a lot of stuff like that. And yeah, if that appeals to you, then you're gonna love an area like Tarrytown. All right, next we have got to talk about Westlake Hills. So Westlake Hills is right here, kind of just west of Austin. It kind of hugs that Colorado River right there. And Westlake Hills is probably one of the most expensive areas in all of Texas. And so Westlake is likely gonna be for families, although single people can live there, elderly people can live there, I don't care. Someone who loves Westlake is gonna love and value a family-friendly area with the absolute top-rated schools in Texas. So if you live in Westlake, you're gonna be zoned to Eanes ISD, which again, it's probably the #1 rated school in all of school district in all of Texas. At least it used to be. I'm pretty sure it still is. And so what I love about Westlake is they're great, big, luxury homes with big lots. I feel like every freaking house in Westlake has an amazing view, and the schools are awesome. But the obvious cons of Westlake are it's very expensive, and like inventory is pretty tight. Like there really aren't a lot of people who ever want to sell in Westlake. That's how awesome it is. And if you want to live in Westlake, minimum, you're going to spend $1.5 million. But I would probably plan on spending closer to $3 to $5 million. But I've seen $40 million houses in Westlake. But if you're spending $3 to $5 million, you could probably find something pretty decent in that area. Another neighborhood I want to mention is right around here, and it's called Mueller. And so Mueller is like a really interesting like master plan community right in the middle of Austin. And I think it might be Central Austin's only master plan community. Like there are pools, parks, tons of amenities. It's almost like the Truman Show, you know, like what's that neighborhood or what's that area in Florida, like Seaside, Florida or something. Like it just looks like, it almost looks like a fake town sometimes. It's like really dense houses stuffed onto tiny lots, lots of sidewalks, lots of kids playing. So I've heard of like single people buying houses in Mueller, couples with no kids, couples with young kids, elderly people, retired people, like buying into Mueller, and they absolutely love it. So you're gonna get a lot of age diversity, and you're gonna get a lot of amenities and a lot of conveniences, and it's super walkable. Another neighborhood, last one I'm gonna talk about, that you're gonna wanna check out in like the middle of Central Austin is called Hyde Park. So Hyde Park, think like Portland, Seattle, Williamsburg, New York, in the middle of Austin. So you got a lot of old bungalow style houses built in the 19 teens, the 20s, the 30s. I live in this area, like really close to this area. Again, really walkable, lots of students, lots of stuff to do, lots of cafes, coffee shops, restaurants that you can totally walk to. So if you're visiting Austin, you gotta hit it up. If you're thinking about moving to Austin and you wanna be right in the mix, but you don't want it to be too insane, Hyde Park is definitely an area that you're gonna wanna check out. And if you're thinking about Mueller or Hyde Park, you're probably gonna wanna plan on spending about $800,000 to $1.25 million. Holy freaking moly. That has to be the most comprehensive maps tour I have ever done, I have ever seen about Austin. So I hope that if you are moving to this area, that looking at this really gives you a sense of kind of where you would want to live. If you have any other questions, or there are areas that I totally left out, again, these are just what I think are the best places to live in town. If there's an area that I missed out, or if there's an area that you would like me to dig into more and that you would like me to explore, seriously, leave a comment below. We would absolutely love to hear from you. I personally respond to every single comment, but there's absolutely no way that I can help you unless I know what you're looking for. So like I said, don't be shy, hit me up. My contact info is in the description here. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We got your back. But if you really want to know what I think about Austin and what I think all the best parts and the worst parts are about this great town, you gotta watch this video right here.